The list of characters that have died in animated Disney movies is long, but today I wanted to set out to rank what I believe to be the top 10 most brutal of these deaths. While most Disney characters that die are villains, not all of them are, so look out for some good guys unfortunately making this list. Also, I'm only including characters from Walt Disney Animation Studios movies, so keep that in mind. I want to start out with a few honorable mentions of sorts. Madame Medusa. She would totally have made the list proper. The only thing is that her fate is technically undetermined. What we can heavily assume is that she was eaten alive by her beloved gators, Brutus and Nero. But since we never actually see that happen, it was too ambiguous to make the top 10. Tadashi. We also don't see this happen, but it's confirmed within the story. Tadashi made a selfless move to run into a burning building to try to save people, but he ended up dying in there. Dying in a fire just seems like one of the worst ways to go. It would have been pretty unnecessary to show his death actually happening, but if we did see it, I would probably consider putting it in the top 10. Commander Rourke. So Rourke gets sucked in and shredded by the propeller blades of a Zeppelin. I would absolutely have him near the top of this list if it weren't for the fact that he was crystallized when it happened. I can't be sure, but it makes it seem like his death was way less painful this way. Tarzan's parents. As we know, they were unfortunately the victims of the ferocious leopard Sabor. But once again, we don't actually see their deaths. But we do see the aftermath, and it's a pretty eerie sight. Ichabod Crane. To cap off the honorable mentions, we have another ambiguous case, and I think it's the most ambiguous of all the Disney movies. We're left with two options for Ichabod's fate. He either fell victim to the Headless Horseman, or he married some rando woman and started a new life. If he did in fact get murdered by the Headless Horseman, which I like to believe, I think he deserves to be considered for this list. I'm not sure exactly what the Headless Horseman would do to kill him, but I think it would be pretty scary. Now that we got those out of the way, let's get to the real list. Here are what I believe to be the top 10 most brutal Disney deaths in the Disney animated canon. Number 10. CLAYTON. He did this one to himself. He got a little too carried away in the vine slicing as he pursued Tarzan, and he cut the one he was holding on to. As he fell through the tangled mess, one of the vines caught around his neck, and he ended up getting hanged. I think we all have the haunting image of CLAYTON's hanging silhouette swinging gently back and forth burned into our minds. His life ended quite quickly, so he probably didn't experience a lot of pain, which is why he is at the bottom of this list. Number 9. Frollo. Out of all the Disney villains whose deaths I crave to see, Frollo is probably at the top. Governor Ratcliffe is up there too, but for some reason he got to live.
Death to all of them.
Frollo is battling our heroes up high on Notre Dame and he ends up falling. He grabs onto a stone gargoyle thing, and apparently Frollo is a lot heavier than he looks because the stone crumbles and he falls quite a height, landing in lava. Pretty brutal, but once again, over pretty quickly. By the way, how on earth did Esmeralda hold on to Quasimodo without going over the edge with him? She's a strong girl. Number 8. SYKES. This is, in my opinion, one of the lamest Disney villains, and he gets one of the most brutal deaths. I'm not sure how Disney decides which villains live or die and who gets what death, but this one seems a little disproportionate to the villain. SYKES gets straight up slammed by an oncoming train at full speed. It reminds me a little of the movie Speed. Satisfyingly brutal. This is another quick death, but I think he probably felt this a little more than the previous guys. Number 7. SHAN. Simply put, the guy gets blown up by fireworks. For some reason Disney didn't feel the need to actually animate the chunks of his body flying through the air, but that doesn't make this any less brutal. This death is also unique. I don't think anyone else got exploded by fireworks that I can recall. It follows the trend of being over quickly, but when your body gets exploded to bits, I think it gives you some advantage over the rest. Number 6. Megara. Our first non-villain. And you may be thinking, excuse me, Megara didn't die. But actually she did. Her soul left her body and went to the underworld, but Hercules retrieved it and brought it back to her. Our girl Meg was crushed by a massive pillar. I cringe to think about the way her bones probably crushed and her organs got squashed. And she hung on for a while after the initial incident. She had to lie there and experience the excruciating pain. I'm thrilled she was brought back in the end, but it doesn't make her experience death any less terrible. Number 5. Ray. This one is quite similar to Megara, only it was Ray's entire body that was crushed under the boot of Dr. Facilier. Being a bug, I really don't know how Ray wasn't killed instantly here, but he did hang on to have his final moments with his friends. Just listen to that crunch. Number 4. Mufasa. We're on a good guy run here. Oh, Mufasa. His death was brutal in so many ways. His actual cause of death was being thrown from a cliff, which actually isn't too unique for Disney character deaths. But everything surrounding his death is extra horrible. Mufasa's death is the most brutal emotionally. First, he is fearing for his son's life and trying to save him. He gets a bit trampled by wildebeest in the process. Then once Simba is safe, Mufasa is clawing his own way to safety. Oh look, it's his brother. Scar sucks, but surely he'll help lift Mufasa over the edge. For Mufasa, it's not just being thrown off the cliff, it's who he was thrown by. His own flesh and blood. The fear for Simba's life and Scar's betrayal, combined with the physical pain of being trampled and thrown off a cliff, for me solidifies Mufasa's place on this list. Number 3. Scar. Here's your karma, sir. Surprisingly, I do think Scar's death is more brutal than Mufasa's. And it's a good thing, because he absolutely deserves it. All the hyenas turn on Scar at the end of the movie, and they eat him alive. This is another death we don't actually see, but I allowed it on the list because there really isn't any wiggle room for what happens to him. And I just think that getting eaten alive sounds like one of the most horrific ways to go. Not to get too into it, but imagine having bites taken out of you and you can feel each one of them happening until there's nothing left. It just seems so slow and painful, and certainly brutal.
It's brutal out here.
Number 2. Ursula. I really don't think I need to say much about this one. She gets giant, she gets impaled by the stern of a literal ship, and right after that she gets electrocuted and sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Owie. Rough day for the Sea Witch. And now, for the most brutal Disney death of all. Number 1. The Horned King. I think it's fitting that arguably the scariest Disney villain has the most brutal death to match. The Horned King gets sucked into the Black Cauldron, but along the way, his skin disintegrates, which I imagine to be quite painful. He becomes a skeleton, and then the cherry on top, he explodes. The sequence is drawn out and intense, and for me it wasn't too hard of a decision to place this king at the top of this list. By the way, who else would love to see a live-action remake of The Black Cauldron? You know, a movie that could actually gain value from being remade? Anyways, that's my list. Let me know if you agree with my picks in the comments below. If you think I missed anyone, be sure to let me know that as well. Thank Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to visit the channel for more ranked lists along with video essays and trivia episodes. If you liked this video, hit like and subscribe. I would be eternally grateful. Thanks so much, and see you next time.